Hello, dear friends. Now, first movie of the year of 18, or should I say 19. It's a bit of a throwback. Mary Poppins Returns. This has now become my favorite Tumblr. If you've seen my other videos, including my Aquaman, you know I have a thing for these. I actually went to see this at a brand new theatre. I went to Moore Park and the Entertainment Quarter, which is actually in Fox Studios. Now that has had a lot of premieres, including The Greatest Showman and other premieres as well, I do believe. Now, what I meant by a throwback, this movie exactly, I have to say this won't bring in any new fans, unfortunately. As someone who loves Mary Poppins, I will put a link to that movie in this particular review. There is a lot of songs that is reminiscent in this movie. This particular movie is 20 years after the classic Mary Poppins, and we assume that George and his wife are no longer with us. And again, Mary is back to help again the parents, specifically Michael. If you remember, he's actually one of the kids Mary was helping out 20 years prior. And ironically, he works for the same bank that his father worked at. Go figure. And we don't know how long, but we do know his wife is just died, and it's sort of up to the kids to sort of keep the household together. At the start of this movie, we find out that Michael has taken out a big loan with the same bank that he works out to try and help his wife get better, but alas, she didn't. So they risk losing the house, and the kids try to help out. There is a way for them to find their home, to keep their home, but I'm keeping that a secret. You really have to watch it. The musical numbers are so well put together. Thank goodness Robert, one of the composers from the original Mary, came back to consult, so it was really cool to see a link to the original Mary in this movie, so it was great to see. And actually there is another link to the Disney company. Lee Myrtle Mackenzie, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's actually the composer or lyricist that brought us Moana soundtrack. So we already have a lyricist. So if there's any problems with any other songs, they have lyricists right there to help out. And I knew he could sing. I know he's actually a very well rounded actor himself. He was actually the guy that brought us Hamilton, which unfortunately is not being released down here in Sydney. I'm hoping that it probably does. I will probably go and see it if it's anything like the Moana soundtrack. He actually wrote, I think he wrote the lyrics. I'm not sure if he wrote the books and lyrics for that, but he also starred in that. A couple of other things. Emily Blunt, I've already seen. She was into the Woods. She was also in the movie Devil Wears Prada, so I knew the woman had some singing and acting chops. She was so well done. I think Julia would be absolutely proud of what Emily brought to the role. She had the biggest, I think, shadow of any of the cast. The actress plays Jane and Michael, since they've already had those roles have already been filled by 3 other people. Could someone else come in and be as beloved? More the character of Mary than for Jane or Michael. She had the biggest sort of hurdle to jump over because everyone knew Mary Poppins and she was like the lead, the title role. I think Emily can really consider herself proud that she took the ball that Julia Andrews did and ran with it. I think she brought a lot of youthful energy to the role. Her spunk, her great sort of way she carried herself really felt like she had either spoke to Julia or studied the original Mary Poppins for how Mary should sing, act, speak. I think she did a great way. I would probably link her performance to what Carl Urban did in the Star Trek, which is sort of emulate very closely what his original character Bones did. I think she did exactly the same thing, but not like her co-star in Into the Woods sort of took his own thing and ran with it. I think she very much studied the original movie, and I say tip my hat off to you. If you don't get any awards for this movie, I would royally be annoyed. I think she is up for a Globe for this role, and I think she is so deserving of that nod. I think also Lee is also up for an award. I think that's brilliant. As a supporting role, he so took what Dick Van Dyke did in the original movie. And yes, he is playing sort of someone who knew Dick Van Dyke's character and definitely made that character, I think, breathe. He didn't put on the Cockney accent, thank God, because if you know the original Mary Poppins movie, you know Dick Van Dyke got a lot of absolute hammered by the critics for that particular accent. He didn't go overboard with the Cockney. It felt really natural Cockney, so I tip my hat off to you. There is a song within this movie that absolutely makes me think of the original movie. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly the song I'm talking about. That song is so reminiscent of what happens in the original, and I think a lot of the songs do. I told my sister that they were doing Mary Poppins. She thought they would be she thought this was a remake. This is not. This is a classic sequel. Well, without the original cast. I love this movie. I think this is a great sort of back up to Mary. I love it. I was actually singing the songs as I left the theater. I actually had one of the songs particularly in my head. Can you imagine that? off the soundtrack. I had the scene in my head for at least an hour after walking out of the theater. So that is a sign that I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. This would definitely be joining Mary Poppins and Saving Mr. Banks in my Blu-ray collection. So if I'm saying that, that is bloody brilliant. Now, have you seen Mary Poppins Returns? Please write down in the comment section below, and if there's any movie that you think I should review next, I will try and find it and I shall review it. And I shall see you in the next review. Ciao!